You're watching KRQE News 13 on Fox, New Mexico.
Guess what? Today is Actors' Day, and acting, of course, goes back centuries across the world, including right here in the land of enchantment with our very own growing film industry. Joining us more this morning, talking about all that, is celebrity historian Raffi Andonian. Raffi, always great to have you with us.
Of course, and David, look, I even brought our own acting disguises in honor of
there you go.
Actors' Day. Of course, famous Groucho Marx.
Yep. You just need the little bit of
I've been to his grave in L.A.
Have you really?
Yep.
You need the little... Good morning. It'll make you turkey-poiky.
That's right.
Yeah.
Famous legend in film and TV.
I like that.
Yeah.
So, Raffi, you always keep us in the know as far as everything that's going on in the world of acting and the world of everything. How did this all begin?
Well, we've all heard of the term Thespians, right? And that is starting from ancient Greece. That's where acting originates. They used to have these processions, parades, masks, singing, and reading of poetry, big deal in ancient Greece. Well, one of the people was named Thespis, that was kind of known as being a great actor. He started doing the poetry in the first person, and that's where the term thespian comes from, that we refer to as actors, because Thespis was such a legendary actor that kind of helped start the profession. Now that spreads across all of ancient Greece, as we all know. You know, there's tragedy, right? There's satire, there's comedy, and these ancient Greeks are writing all over the place. It was very important for them. They saw it as a sort of analysis of the human condition. In fact, Aristotle, the philosopher, loved tragedy most because he thought it gives you perspective, it cleanses the heart, and helps you realize you shouldn't worry about petty little things. And I agree, tragedy is my favorite.
Right?
Sophocles is a great example of a tragedy writer in ancient Greece.
Yeah, good way to get it out there. So we have its beginnings early on the other side of the world. By the time it gets here, by the time we get kicked off on the West Coast, how did Hollywood get its beginnings?
Hollywood is a fascinating story. Now, that happens to be my hometown. I'm actually from Hollywood. So I spent a lot of time, like the Bob Seger song, you know, in those Hollywood nights, in those Hollywood hills. That was my life.
Look at Raffi. It's entertainment and education all in one.
It's Hollywood.
Here.
We got to make it entertaining. But the easy answer to that is that it used to be an agricultural town. Eventually, from a real estate development, got electricity, the Hollywood Hotel, where they still hold the Oscars today, actually. And that started this trend of starting movies. So Count of Monte Cristo was the first film to be completed there. Within a few years, in 1915, you have Birth of a Nation, which is a massive hit, still one of the all-time most successful films. And as a result, what happens is a lot of these studios move from the east to the west, in part to get away from the patent protection of the major studios in the East Coast. That's part of the reason they come out there, believe it or not. And so that leads to this golden era in the 1930s of Hollywood, some of the biggest films of all time. The Wizard of Oz is an example of that. Stagecoach is an example of that. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. How about Gone with the Wind, featuring Clark Gable, the ultimate Hollywood star in the 30s. Even though in the Great Depression, it was a great way for people to get away and analyze the human condition, just like the ancient Greeks.
There you go. And quickly tying this together, you know, talking about that move west, we're along the way, New Mexico, right?
That's right, and it's in the same era, believe it or not. It's 1898, Thomas Edison comes here to New Mexico, makes the first film. It ties in the culture, and then, of course, D.W. Griffith, the guy who did Birth of a Nation, comes here also, works at Isleta Pueblo, and Las Vegas, New Mexico also had, at that point, dozens of films come out with multiple producers living there in the 19-teens into the 1920s. Wow. And, of course, Billy the Kid is filmed in Santa Fe, filmed again in Cerrillos, and filmed also over in down in Las Cruces. So what you have is multiple times the culture is being tied in. It's not just the scene and the lighting, which you have in LA, scenery and lighting as well, but the culture, because when D.W. Griffith came here, for example, he did an indigenous version of Romeo and Juliet.
Wow.
So the culture of New Mexico ties into the early film industry. It's not just Oppenheimer in recent months. Yeah. This goes back more than a century.
One thing I was proud to say is that I actually got to educate Raffi on something this morning. The soundstage that we have here, our Newsplex at KRQE, once a soundstage that produced movies back in the 70s and 80s, such as Convoy, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, the early years.
I didn't know that. That's right. Stumped the celebrity historian.
Right here where we're standing. Yeah. Raffi, where can we find more information?
celebrityhistorian.com, where you can find out about me, and the Hollywood has a historical society you can look up, and New Mexico Films Guild has a website you can look up some information just to get started before you get too far into the archival stuff. It gives you some starting points.
There you go. We love the education. We love the props. Everything about Raffi. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you.
Yep. Now, for a full recap of the entire interview, you can head to our website that is always on krqe.com. Meteorologist Erica Meyer live in the Weather Center with a look at the forecast and traffic. Good morning, Erica.
All right. Good morning.